Okay, we should be live. So hopefully I'm live. If you are watching today, if you're watching live or if you're on the replay, please let me know because I always get worried that I'm talking to myself. So if you've been joining me this week, you'll know this is the third interview I'm doing with an amazing lady from the Advanced Network that I belong to. So every day this week at 3 o'clock British Standard Time, I'm interviewing a fabulous woman who can help you in your career and business. So on Monday, just to give a quick recap, I chatted with Brittany Gardner and we chatted about how to show up as an introvert. On Tuesday, yesterday, I spoke to Donna. I think it's Tash Jean. I'm terrible at name pronunciations. And we were chatting about overcoming adversity in business. Today, I'm going to be chatting to the wonderful Jennifer Nash, so my namesake, and she is an amazing PR expert, all in the field of thought leadership. Tomorrow, I'm going to be chatting to a lady called Melanie Hershern, and we're going to be chatting about how to create and nurture your network with amazing, valuable content, which kind of ties into what we're doing today on leadership. And Friday, I'll be chatting to Sabrina Drew all about how to develop your confidence as an entrepreneur. So hopefully somebody is here. I can't see any comments yet. I'm just going to switch off my banner for now. And I will invite the lovely Jennifer Nash up onto the stage. As I said, she's an amazing PR expert and she helps female entrepreneurs to get their brand out there and to shine. So I'm going to invite her up now. Hello, Jennifer. How are you today?
Hello, Jennifer. It's weird saying hello to another Jennifer.
No, it is. And to be honest, there is another, we both belong to a network called Advance, and I'm going to give it a quick shout out. I don't know if you can see this. This is a lovely mug.
Yay!
Yeah, this is a lovely mug they gave me, and I'll show the other side just to give them a bit of brand recognition,
Yeah.
a bit of free PR. So
Yes, absolutely.
we both belong to a network called Advance, and the lady who is the community manager is also called Jennifer, but she is a Jen. And if, in all honesty, I am a Jen, but I've always been known as Jennifer in business. So, like in corporate, and when I started my business, and I've kind of got to the stage where it's like I just want to keep it the same, consistent. But I think most friends called me Jen. Never a Jenny. Are you ever a Jenny, Jennifer?
This conversation we had before when we first met, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
and I both. So, yeah, never Jenny. Always a Jen. If
yeah,
my friends, I always say my friends call me Jen. So
yeah,
you've got to have gained the right to call me Jen. But
yeah.
otherwise, in business and everywhere else, it's Jennifer. But you are my friend now, so you can call me Jen.
Great. Well, I'm glad to say we have one person joining live. I can see Erica, who's joining from Florida. So thanks for tuning in today. And we're chatting not just about our names, both being Jennifer, we're chatting about the power of PR and thought leadership. So, Jennifer, do you want to give us a quick introduction as to who you are and who you help?
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer, for this opportunity and for the lovely introduction as well. I help female entrepreneurs to enhance their visibility and enhance and amplify their voices through mainstream media. So that they can gain credibility as experts in their field through thought leadership, opinion editorials, thought leadership interviews, and so on and so forth. That way they can 10x their revenue.
Absolutely. And who wouldn't want to multiply their revenue by 10 times? So I'm so grateful for you coming on because I am a massive believer in the power of PR. And I think a lot of people, especially small business owners, discount it and think it's not for me. But I really think anything that can boost your visibility and your brand and get you recognized as an expert is something you should tap into. And if anyone's looking at my LinkedIn cover photo behind your head, you'll see I am spotlighting any PR I've got from press or magazines or radio. I've not made it onto TV yet, but yeah, I think it's super important. And likewise, on my website, I spotlight any PR that I have got myself. So we've got a few comments coming in. I can see Christine. Oh, she's another advancer. She's saying hi to Jennifer's.
Hi, Christine.
We've got Phil as well from Birmingham. So great to have a gentleman join us as well. So
Yeah.
I've got some questions. I'd love to say I'm as good an interviewer as Terry Wogan. I'm not, so I have to have everything written down. So the first question I've got is, what advice can you give for people to enhance their visibility and their, their PR, especially during the pandemic?
Yeah, as we just said, the first port of call is that you flaunt any visibility, any kind of PR that you've had. You flaunt it on your LinkedIn profile, on any social media, and more so on your website, on as featured as. So any places that you've been, you want to poster it. I call it posturing. So go away from the mindset of being an imposter and step into the poster girl syndrome. So that you're not showing off, you're showcasing what you've done, what you've achieved, the recognition that you've received, and those are your credentials that you want to be able to showcase to your potential clients. But also it gives your employees, if you have any employees, a feel-good factor that they work for an entrepreneur that has been seen and featured in all these amazing publications or the media, right? So during the pandemic, that's the first port of call. That's the easiest, the fastest way that you can enhance your visibility. But to your point that you were just saying earlier on, networking. So networking as much as possible, joining amazing network communities such as we do have the Advanced Female Network thing. We're really giving them a lot of bandwidth PR today. So yeah, such a place, because I believe first and foremost, the reason why I mentioned that, I believe in word of mouth. Yeah. So the best way that the best PR you can ever get, and the oldest form of PR, is word of mouth. The good old-fashioned way of somebody talking about you, mentioning your name to somebody else. That's the best way. And the reason why that is even the best way to do it right now during the pandemic, because we're in lockdown, is because we can't network in person. Right? So you can't attend any places in person, you can't go for drinks, you can't go for this and that. So what is a better choice? What is a better alternative is to digitally network. So get into communities, digital communities, and get to know other people, have virtual coffees, attend events, virtual events, and so on and so forth. That's the best way to do it. And I have, just during the pandemic, I've actually gotten to know probably 1,500 more people than I normally would do before the pandemic, which is good because you don't have any travel expenses and you can meet and connect with people in different countries globally, digitally, without having to travel and pay for any air ticket.
There's a great point. And you said 1,000 and I thought, wow, but to be honest, I've probably connected with over 1,000, because even going back to last March when the Flybe airline collapsed, I reached out to 1,000 of their staff like one weekend to give them free training. And I would say consistently, probably over the last year, I've been reaching out to 50 to 100 people a week, especially on LinkedIn. So it is a great opportunity to build your network globally and locally, without having to do any commute. And like you said, saving money, saving time, just hopping on like you guys are today watching the live. So I can see a few more people popping up, and we have got a good mix. So we've got the UK, we've got the US, we've got Ireland. So we've got Copenhagen, we've got Denmark as well. So it just goes to show you can network all around the world. And I would encourage people, whoever join any LinkedIn Live like this, obviously it's a great place to learn, but it's a great place to network as well. So always look at the people who have shown up, because you are like minds. You're both interested in this topic and you never know how you can help each other down the line. So don't be shy to reach out and connect, because if this was a face-to-face event and we were both doing a panel interview, you probably would be swapping business cards and chatting, because you are like minds and you're interested in PR and thought leadership. And just to say, if anybody does have any questions while we're chatting, stick them in the chat box as well, because we can tackle them. And I think thought leadership is especially massive on LinkedIn. LinkedIn did a survey, it's quite a long name. It's the Edelman LinkedIn 2020 Thought Leadership Survey. And they said in that 49% of all purchasing decisions are really based on thought leadership. And there was a high percentage, I'm just going to double check it, it was in the 80s, it said 89% said that thought leadership has enhanced their perception of an organization or a brand. So it's really worth investing in thought leadership. And I think you mentioned when you were chatting about PR, putting in it as featured on, and I have generated my own PR. You know, I wouldn't say it was always thought leadership. A lot of it was, you know, random stuff. Like, for example, I can generate pretty random PR, which is why people need experts like you. So I was interviewed on Times Radio chatting about being burgled. Okay, so nothing to do with LinkedIn. I was interviewed in the Telegraph about tourism in Devon. Again, nothing to do with thought leadership or LinkedIn. I was in The Guardian chatting about Marie Kondo and decluttering. So, you know, interesting stuff. I am a human being, but not always thought leadership. Like I have had a few thought leadership pieces, but they're not as easy to get, which is why we need people like you. And I think a lot of people think of, you know, in terms of platforms, they think of Twitter probably as the best for PR and you know, reaching out to journalists. There's a hashtag journal request. But I would say, don't forget, those journalists are on LinkedIn as well. And a lot of those magazines and publications are on here as well. And this is kind of a less saturated space in terms of reaching out and connecting with people. So don't be afraid to use the LinkedIn search bar and find people who, you know, can help you in terms of PR. So I'm just going to jump into my second question for Jennifer. So what other ways can female entrepreneurs stand out from the pack, online and offline?
I think you've just really literally made a case for that, because there's two things that we're talking about. We're talking about visibility, general visibility, and we're talking about thought leadership. Yeah. So to your point that you just made, you have been interviewed, you've appeared in newspapers and on TV, talking about something completely irrelevant to what you do in your day job. Yeah. But you've created social proof. You've created a digital footprint for visibility, right? And once you've created that, you've picked other people's interests, and they'll be like, who is that? Right? And then they'll dig deeper and want to know a little bit more about you. So that's how you can create visibility with just things that you are passionate about, things that you are not necessarily an expert about, but you are just telling. I always tell my clients, tell your authentic story. Yeah. So public relations is not always about a business, right? Thought leadership, on the other hand, is talking about business and showcasing your expertise as a leader, right? Yeah. But as an expert, I beg your pardon. But with visibility and public relations, that's a completely different ballgame. That's about visibility. That's about earned media. That's about getting social proof. That's about getting in front of mind. That's about brand visibility. And when I talk about brand visibility, I'm not just talking about the brand, the business, which is called Ackenbrook, like my business, for example. You are your brand. So however you show up as yourself, you are increasing and enhancing your own visibility by showing up. And of course, public relations, if I may just explain and expound that a little bit, public relations is about talking about human interest stories and newsworthy stories. Those are the two main criteria that journalists are going to look for. So to your point, if you've got something to talk about in Devon, you've got something that has happened in your neighborhood, something happened that is really weird, you can get on the phone and call a journalist. They will talk to you about it. They want to hear your story. But the beauty about that, what will come out of that is not just about the story that you've given them. One, you get in the books for the journalists. So they will know they can contact you in future if they need you, if they have a story. Secondly, they always have the opportunity to put a boilerplate in place, or in these days in the digital landscape, because we're not talking about a press release per se. We're talking about you being interviewed on whatever. They have your links. They have your contact details. So they can maybe put those on their website and stuff like that so that people can follow up and connect with you. They'll put your social media link and stuff like that. So you've earned that real estate on a journalist platform, on a publications platform, on a TV station, their website and stuff like that. So PR is about earning that real estate that you want in terms of visibility and brand exposure, right? So just going back to thought leadership in itself, thought leadership is what I'm very passionate about. And that's what I'm really schooling my clients into. It's about presenting yourself as an expert in your field. And a lot of people tend to ask me, what does it take to become an expert in my field? I always say the bare minimum should be 10,000 hours of doing something extremely well and repeatedly for at least 10,000 hours, which could be equivalent to 3 years. Once you've achieved that, that is, you're on the level of being an emerging thought leader. And also, I just needed to make, before I conclude, the distinction between a thought leader and a business leader. There's a huge distinction. A business leader can be anybody, can be a CEO, can be a CMO, and not necessarily be a thought leader. A thought leader, on the other hand, can be that person who sits on a corner desk. You've never even seen him. You don't even know his name. He's an engineer with a PhD. He's a person who sits in the lab and understands what is going on with coronavirus. He's the one who understands the intricate DNA or whatever they call it for coronavirus. He's the person you want to put forward if there are questions that are pertaining that specific skill that he has as a person, as an employee in your organization. You don't want to assume that the CEO knows everything. And you don't want to assume that because the CEO is the leader of the organization, that means he's the person who is the correct person to answer specific questions about a specific situation in your organization. So thought leaders can be trained with media relations. They can be trained how to present themselves, how to answer questions, how to deal with journalists' tricky questions. They can be trained how to present themselves as an expert because they're not necessarily always in front of the camera, right? They hardly ever get that opportunity as much as a CEO probably does. So it's really, really important that the people that are listening here or are going to be playing this back understand that a thought leader is not necessarily the leader of the organization. It can be anybody who's good at what they do within your organization, could be a junior member of staff.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the fact that you even said the 10,000 hours, because I'm sure we're all fed up of people calling themselves an expert and they've literally just appeared out of nowhere. And, it's like, how are you qualified as an expert? I never get it, or self-confessed gurus. So I think you have to have that experience of walking the walk and talking the talk. So I love that. And I think, I totally get that not all leaders of companies are thought leaders. A lot of the time, the thought leaders are behind the scenes. And I think on LinkedIn, a lot of people, they think that thought leadership means having to innovate the whole time and having to always come up with something new. But I just want to tell people it doesn't. It can be something that's happening in the news and then you just having your undiluted point of view. So your strong kind of conviction, your strong point of view, and showcasing that and how you feel, and just really kind of standing up for your point of view and not sitting on the fence. And a lot of the time, especially on LinkedIn, it's the old topics that get traction as opposed to new topics. It's just a slightly new take on it, or just kind of rehashing it. So never worry that you have to constantly reinvent the wheel and come out with this, innovative material the whole time. It's just about being a leader in the sense that you have a point of view, and you are, even if you're sharing a curated post. So maybe you've read something in Forbes or the Guardian, the Times, whatever, and you're sharing it. Just that statement at the top, that sentence or two on LinkedIn, saying to people why you should read this, why you should click on, can establish you as a thought leader. So I love that, especially, I suppose it sounds quite lazy, but from a marketing point of view, it's amazing. You don't have to create original content the whole time on LinkedIn to be a perceived thought leader. And likewise, it could be going and commenting on existing posts on the home feed or in groups, that can position you as a thought leader if you're showcasing your expertise, if it's a topic that you know really well, and you can give an insightful comment and feedback. That makes you stand out as a thought leader. So I'd love to know, do you have anything to add to that in terms of like?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way you articulated that, because that's a very good point, because that's what we call in the industry, perhaps it can be lost in translation. That's what we call opinion editorial.
Yeah.
So piggyback riding on an existing topic, an existing article, and making a comment on that, an informed comment, right? But also the most important thing that I wanted to add as you were speaking, I was like, yes, you can write your own ideas and add on to that and rehash it. But be careful when you rehash that. You want to make sure you've got facts.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes a thought leader and what distinguishes a thought leader from any other Joe blogs that just writes their opinion on an article is the fact that the thought leader has done their research.
Yeah.
And they're basing their opinion on facts. So they have efficacy. They have proof that if somebody else had to come up and say, no, what you're saying is nonsense, they can actually back that up with evidence. Yeah. So that's a main distinguishing factor between thought leadership op-ed, opinion editorial, versus somebody's comment just from their own personal opinion, which is actually very different. So, but to your point, yes, utilize articles. You can upcycle articles that have already been used. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be innovative. It pays to be innovative. But again, already what we're doing right here, right now, this is thought leadership conversation. Yeah. Getting involved in a fireside chat with someone, or as Jennifer calls it, a chinwag. This word, I can't get over it. I'm not a native English. I had to ask my husband, what does chinwag mean?
Don't worry about it. And probably Irish people probably say it more than English people. Right. It just means a chat because your chin is literally wagging.
It's wagging. Yeah. So for those of you that are not English, chinwag literally has just been explained to you by Jennifer. So for me, I call my interviews, when I have conversations with my clients or my guests on my show, I call it a fireside conversation. Yeah. So it's actually pretty much means the same thing. So you can do expert interviews on podcasts, on national television. You can do written question and answer interviews that are printed in a publication or online digitally. There's so many different ways that you can explore thought leadership and how you can present your expertise.
Definitely. And I think I was saying at the very start that the kind of the random PR I've got, it has helped in the long run to get actual thought leadership PR, because I think once you get your first bit, whether it is an article, a guest blog, a magazine, then you just leverage that, and then you can go on and say, I've appeared in The Guardian. They don't need to know it's about Marie Kondo. But to be honest, I chat about decluttering on LinkedIn as well. So you can kind of work it to your favor. But I think once you get that first bit of PR, you just leverage it and you build on it and you build on it. And that's what I've done. So if people are listening today and you're thinking, I'm not really sure how to get any, it can be a guest blog for a site. It can be an opinion piece. It doesn't always have to be like a page spread or a double page spread. I think people think they always have to go for the big bits, but it doesn't have to be. And I just want to say, if any of you have any questions today, we've got another.
I think there's a lot of questions I can see from the comments.
I can just see comments. I can't actually see any questions. I'm going to refresh because maybe I'm missing.
I work with Jenny Boslow says, I work with a team who are great leadership inspires. You will have to see their free webinars and products on leadership. Okay, that's actually just a statement. You're right.
Anybody got any questions? And I'd love to know, don't be shy. Let us know if you've ever had any PR before. It doesn't matter whether it's a guest blog, in a magazine, in a paper, on the radio, on TV. Just let us know if you've ever had any PR. And if you are looking for PR, what kind of PR are you looking for? So Jennifer helps female entrepreneurs, but I know there's a few men listening today, so the tips will be good for them as well. So if you've got any questions, Okay, Jenny's just put up that she's just commented on what you said about doing an interview. Jenny attended one of my lives this week. I think it was yesterday, Jenny, wasn't it? And you said you were a bit terrified about doing an interview, and I told you just go for it, because you just I'm always fighting my comfort zone, and I just think it's the only way you really achieve anything in life, in your career or your business. The first time I did a video, I was absolutely bricking myself and was not a happy camper. I had to massively psych myself up, but it does get easier. And I think, as Jennifer said, the more you can do your research, the better you're going to get on in that interview. And I said to you, Jenny, yesterday, spoon feed them. If they want you on, say to them, these are my preferred questions. Ask me this,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I do today. I've done it with Jennifer here, and I've done it with my guests. I've said, give me 2 or 3 questions so we can start the ball rolling. I will ask you something that you want to chat about. And it's good for me as one of the hosts, because we kind of know what's going to happen. It takes away all that fear factor. So the more you can do your research, the better it's going to be. Okay, so good luck with that. Don't be scared. She's put down that she's scared. Don't be, because you'll be so proud of yourself and you'll have that. And you will improve as you go on. Like the first time I did videos, I don't think I had any lamps. Now I've got 2 big lamps behind me. I wasn't really conscious of my background for the first. That's improved. The hair's improved. The makeup's improved. Not that you have to fully show up, but every time you do it, you'll get a bit better. So don't worry about it. Nobody is expecting perfection. And as Jennifer said at the start, people are interested in human stories and human beings. We don't want to see, I think if someone's too perfect, it actually is off-putting. It puts you off.
Yeah.
So we've no questions here, but I'm going to launch in and just ask you 1 or 2 things before we wrap up.
There is a last question. What am I working on?
Exactly. I was going to say, and what's the best way for people to contact you? Obviously, they can contact you on LinkedIn. The links will be here. But what's your preferred platform or site or email? What's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you if they need PR help?
LinkedIn is probably the best. Like you, I really prefer LinkedIn because I find it to be a very easy and less crowded. I think you made that point as well earlier. Yeah. I think there's more sanity to LinkedIn, I have to say. Yeah. And LinkedIn, please send me a check for saying that. But out of all the social media platforms, I prefer LinkedIn because I just feel sane when I'm there. Yeah. It's not too crazy. Yeah. But it's also where I hang out most. So that's the best way to connect with me. But you can also connect with me I also have my email address on my LinkedIn profile. So you can send me an email to make it more personable. Yeah. I'm hardly in the LinkedIn DMs. So if you're going to reach out to me urgently, you want to send me an email. And that email address is jennifer@arkenbrook.com. It's also in my bio. But great. Yeah, and also if it's okay with you, I just wanted to mention one more thing that I would encourage people to do when they want to enhance their thought leadership expertise and credentials is to enter for awards. And right now, the current project that I'm working on is the Global Ignite Vision Awards, which is creating a platform for women to literally be recognized. It's a peer-to-peer type of recognition, which we've got 12 categories, and everybody who's doing business on and offline, and whether they are product-based or service-based, are free to enter because we've got 12 categories for you to choose from. And there's no better way than for you to gain credibility than to enter awards and be recognized on a global stage. So I would really, really, even if you were not entering from the Global Ignite Vision Awards per se, try at least in your lifetime every year, try and enter for certain industry-specific awards or category-specific awards, depending on what it is that you do. But that's one way. Another major way of enhancing your visibility, but also being seen as a credible expert with authority.
No, I completely agree. I'm just going to slightly change the layout of the screen for a sec. So I don't know if people can see, like, if I go this way, I've got a few awards behind me, and I think they do give you massive credibility, especially when you're trying to leverage some PR, when you can say you're award winning. And even if you don't win, if you're shortlisted, that's still great. You know, anything we all, you know, the first award I entered, I didn't win. I came back, then I became a shortlisted, then I was a finalist, then I was a winner. It's like anything, especially in business, you have to be resilient and just keep trying and keep trying. And once you win one, you usually win more. So
Yeah.
it definitely helps with PR. And I have my own press kit and I spotlight all of my awards there. And I know it's probably one of the reasons I have been featured in certain publications, because it helps to build on that credibility.
Yeah.
So I do think check out Jennifer's awards and check out awards in general. A top tip that I do is every year as a business owner, I have a running document in Word. And every month I put in bullet points for achievements, whether it's been clients or featuring on a podcast or a webinar or a summit. And then at the end of the year, I can use all that information in an award submission, because sometimes we're just too busy in our business and we think, well, I've got nothing done. But that document, when I go back, it shows me, well, actually, I did this, 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 this. And we don't have
Exactly.
an appraisal as business owners unless you're doing an appraisal with your coach. So it is actually a great way to look back and feel proud of yourself. So that
Yeah.
is, if you want to enter awards, create a document in Word or Google Docs and start anytime you've done something that is credible or value, whether it's paid work or voluntary, anything, put it in, because that's kind of like your swipe file for your award submission.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's
that's also very good for when you want eventually to create a case study, because then you've got a source where you can get information from. So also the other thing that you want to help you with credibility when it comes to that and presenting yourself as a thought leader is make sure you write as many case studies as possible. Get your existing clients or past clients interviewed by yourself, preferably for a 30-minute interview, transcribe that interview, and you can flesh out a lot of good points from that conversation that you can then use to present yourself as a credible thought leader when you are being invited to sit on the hot seat with a journalist, and or if you're working with a publicist like myself, that will be a good media kit for me to have so that I can present you and pitch you perfectly.
That's great advice, because I think a lot of business owners, they don't necessarily work on case studies. They just focus on testimonials, a few sentences. But I think if you can show that transformation, several paragraphs of where somebody was, how you worked with them, and what's the end result, then it just helps people to buy into you more and what you do. So thank you. That's a great tip. I'm conscious of the time, so I am going to say thank you to everybody who has joined us today. I know there wasn't any questions, but hopefully you found the subject of interest. And if you've not applied for any PR opportunities yet, do consider it. It does really help to leverage your credibility and your visibility. And if you need that help, obviously contact Jennifer. She is an expert. You know, a lot of people, you know, you can attempt certain things yourself, but I hold my hands up. You know, to get into somewhere like Forbes or whatever, I would go to somewhere like someone like Jennifer, because, you know, it's like LinkedIn. People think they could do it all, but sometimes you need that extra help to actually help you get to the next stage, because of the connections, the relationships with other journalists and all of these media, and knowing how to position things and how to make that pitch for you on your behalf. Because I know in the past I've done a few press releases and they've just fallen dead. And a lot of the time, you know, it was just the way I was positioning, or I just wasn't reaching out to the right people. So if you want to, you know, fast track your PR, don't do it yourself. Go to an expert like Jennifer who will help you get that done quickly. So thanks everybody for listening today. Thanks Jennifer for being an amazing guest. You've been fab. Lots of great tips. I know you've got a group as well, haven't you? Do you want to just do a shout out about your group and how people can join it?
Yes, of course. Anybody who wants to join, I think it's also in my bio, they can join the Unforgettable Entrepreneurs. Obviously, the reason why it's called Unforgettable Entrepreneurs is I want to help people become unforgettable and lovable by journalists in the media.
Great, great. And don't be shy to reach out to Jennifer or myself. We're here to help. And come back again tomorrow. I will be interviewing another amazing lady called Melanie, all about how to nurture your network with amazing, valuable content. And I'm sure we'll talk a bit about thought leadership. It all ties in, like all of the discussions this week are tying in. It's all about that visibility, authenticity, and credibility, because the one thing thought leadership gives you is credibility. And there's no point being visible just for the sake of being visible. You have to have substance. So that's what Jennifer, that's her specialty, is helping you with that thought leadership. And likewise, if you need that kind of positioning on LinkedIn, that's what I do. So thanks a million for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day. If anybody wants to find out about, I don't know if you can see this, the network that we belong to, and you want to connect and network with other female entrepreneurs around the globe, reach out and I will send you some info. If not, enjoy the rest of your day and see you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks, Jennifer.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.